Okay. Alright, everyone hear me fine? Everything's good? Okay. Oh, there's a stutter. There we go. Well, we can get started now. It's about 5 minutes after, so people can join in and hear stuff. Uh, let's see. Oh. Alright, my game's stuttering a bit. This is great. Alright, well, I'm Pizza Hat. I did the Snake Water review, and I'm a Six's demo player currently, an amateur division. Stream isn't working. Black screen stream. Okay, we're off to a great start. Let me just no. Yeah, of course it's cutting out. Is it still black? What the heck? That's great. We see the cursor. Okay. I'm gonna restart TF2. See if that fixes it. Alright, my entire left monitor is bugged out. Let's go. Alright, I'm gonna do a quick restart. I'll be right back. I'm gonna hope that fixed the issue. And I can actually boot TF2 back up. Not have it break on me. I have not started anything. I had to restart my computer because the stream was not running. And my entire left monitor was broken. Alright, let's try this now. Alright, is it working? Are we not black screened anymore? All clear. Perfect. This is already off to a great start. Alright, I'll also start over again. I'm Pizza Hat. I'm a mid-level AM player who plays Demoman for about a season and a half. And I've won the TF Arena Steel Division as Demoman. So, Demoman's main job as a team, because you're probably the most important damage dealer alive, you have a few key aspects to your kit. So, I'm going to start off with some basic stuff. The rollout is probably Demoman's biggest thing you need to get good at. Because as Demoman, you're going to be the first one in mid. You're going to be the first person to see everything going on in mid, where they're rotating, if they're doing anything. So getting your rollout down so that you are fast to mid is always the most important thing. But even if you can't perfect your rollout and get it really smooth, even just letting your team know that you're messed up a little bit or that you're slow. Like I always messed up that ramp slide right there. That was just really consistent for some. A lot of times you're getting to mid first, and as soon as you get there, you're chucking stickies, trying to deny the Demoman their pack or anything, taking high control. But that's another big thing, because Demoman's Sticky Bomb Launcher is probably the best tool in his kit. Like, pipes are strong, but stickies, they offer so much. They deny space, they get really good damage. They set up traps for picks. It's all really good. So, for main thing for height is... I'm stuttering so much, oh my goodness. I'm trying to have a coherent thought process, I don't really know. But, yeah, the Sticky Bomb is probably Demoman's best weapon in the game. It does so much, and there's so much around just knowing what stickies do and how to avoid them. So a sticky by itself is just a large threat. Even if it's on the ground, even if it's not detonated, seeing a sticky there deters a player from just walking in that area for fear of them deading and losing about, I don't know, 80 health. It's ridiculous. So having 2 down really just denies them from doing anything. Especially if you do it on height. Like if you get to mid first, you can carpet the blue crate and put a bunch of stickies out there. That pretty much denies them from taking any space on that, or else they're just going to eat a bunch of spam. Same thing. You see them taking height, you just chuck some stickies up top. You don't need a dead at all. You can just leave it there. Just leave it there, and then it'll deter players from walking. And even if they go up there, boom, 80 damage on them immediately. They're crippled, and you can call that out to your team. Which is also another crew thing. Communication for Demoman is also the biggest thing. Because you're going to be in for a lot of stuff. You're for the main person who's going to be leading Ubers. You're going to get a lot of good damage because Demoman's like the best damage class in the game. So it's always important to calm damage, calm when you get pipes on people, calm how much your stickies are doing. And if you don't know, there's moments where you shoot a sticky at somebody you don't know. You can always say about 30 or 40 sometimes. Or just say someone was stickied and you don't know how much. Typically, you're just calling out damage for your other teammates to capitalize on and clean up. Because your scouts can have a lot more direct accuracy, your soldiers have big splash damage with their bombs. You're just out there denying any space you can and getting a lot of damage on their combo. Trying to not go too fast, but if anyone has questions, I'm still watching the classroom chat, or the lecture hall chat. So you can go ahead and ask and I'll try to cover it. But for mid-fights, yes, Demoman, your job is to not worry about soldiers at all. Your job is to watch what their Demoman's doing, watch what their combo's doing, and pretty much prevent them from walking across and taking your side. I'm using Process as the map right now just because that's the basic 6's formula. Most of them, if you're playing centralized, you'll sit around here chucking stickies at them, deterring height maybe if you need to, maybe throwing a few pipes every now and then. But as soon as you start seeing them rotate, it should either be you or your pocket scout calling to match their rotation, but it should also be you calling their rotation as well, because you're up front, you're the closest to them. You can see what they're doing way better than anyone else. So your scouts are going to be all the way up there. Again, rotations, your job's do a lot of damage, and just, oh my, do as much damage as humanly possible. It's just kind of the same thing for evens. You're kind of spotting a lot of information for your team who may not be there. If you're on second holding it, a lot of the times your teams will be somewhere else. They might be behind you on point. They might be in IT watching it. Your job's pretty much just watching the choke, because that's Demoman's main job. Tight spaces are like Demoman's best area he can control at all. So anytime you're watching chokes, you're rotating to come help pressure. If your team calls that they're all pushing IT, then you can quickly just rotate over, chuck a few pipes, maybe shoot a sticky in there. Just deny them the space. But sticky bomb launcher, again, I mentioned this before, traps are probably the best option you have with this thing. Now, trap philosophy kind of differs between people. I'm one where I like to keep my traps hidden and not in plain sight, so that enemies have a chance of just walking into it and just exploding. Other people will lay traps like directly out in the choke to prevent people from even walking up in the first place, take any spam, because they're going to have to take time to shoot that, and that can deny a lot of pressure going on for sacks. But I'm purposely the guy who likes to just wait for them to come either walk in, I'll set something up in the corners, back up, maybe shoot a few pipes, and just wait for them to walk into my traps. That way I can get an easy kill. But again, a lot of people will sometimes just put it in front of doorways so they don't do it. I'll put normally stickies right here on this spot too. But you know, you have that other wall there, so a lot of times a lot of people will put stickies on this little ground area right in front of twos. It's just for people from walking out entirely. Or if they see a soldier rocket splash these things away, then they'll know that a soldier's coming from two and they can get ready or tell their team. Another thing that is important for trapping is to also communicate what you have trapped. I do this a lot when I'm pushing into the enemy team's last. I'll call what doors I have trapped. Say I'll trap normally 1 and 2 typically, but sometimes, you know, I'll go trap lower lobby, get a trap right up there. Just make sure your team is aware of what doors you're watching so they can focus on the other doors. As I mentioned, Ubers on Demoman is typically it's your job to lead the Uber a lot of times. If you aren't leading the Uber, your pocket scout, or whoever your main calling is, it will call, hey, Scout's leading the Uber, or Demoman's leading the Uber. That's always really important to mention. But typically, again, it depends what doorway you're going through, but typically you're jumping in, your job's either to get the sentry gun down as fast as possible, and then call focus fire on whoever you see is the biggest threat. Typically that's heavies and Demoman. Engineers will always switch off to heavies as soon as that's possible, as soon as they can, or as soon as their gun goes down, they'll switch off to a heavy. But it's your job to pretty much call focus fire with as much spam as you have, so you have the highest damage potential. If you are leading into with Uber, you can always also trap a spawn door. That is typically a good idea too, especially if they have an engineer who's going to switch out and come out a door. Leaving traps there is really good while you focus with pipes, or maybe put some more stickies on point, just death them as soon as people walk on it. Another thing is also taking height more with Demoman and not ending on low ground, especially with Ubers. If you're ending here with Ubers, this is really bad. You're going to get caught out by so many players just for being on low ground. Soldiers can bomb you a lot easier, scouts can kind of get more damage on you. You want to be ending on height, so typically you try to end in heaven here. That way you have really good range of point, you can watch the spawn door, you can pretty much spam trying to get anybody going to point. Make sure you always end height. There's differences between each maps, like Snake Water, you want to end either on the left side or the right side, you kind of don't want to be in the middle ground that comes out of lower or dungeon. You want to try to sit on the sides and spam the point. And it's the same philosophy if you're defending from an Uber. You want to stay on height as long as possible, or just be not in the Uber as long as possible. I say this because Metal works. You just sit on your bridge a lot of the time and let their Uber go over you. You just want to be out of the Uber as long as possible if they're pushing in. You don't want to be caught by them. You don't want to give up any space. You want to just kite it and put some traps on point. Just get more spam. Just live as long as possible. Because I don't see a lot of Demomen who value their life a lot as much as they should be, especially in the newer divisions. Demomen is the class. Like, medics are important, sure, but your Demoman's like very close to that priority. It's not gonna overtake it because medic's still important, but basically just ensuring that you survive and ensuring that you just don't die can help so much with space, because you again have such huge area control on Demoman. If you don't have any trouble with dying, a lot of Demoman are getting caught into positions. Something AT mentioned before to me is staying behind a scout or staying around your scout. That way you can always just get out of your scout can help you out of situations if they're bombing or anything, or they're committing an Uber exchange. You can. Same thing. Sticky jumping around is typically an idea you can do around. I use that only really just to get back. The fighting, say if I gotta get all the way back from forward spawn, I'll just jump around, lose a little bit of health. Typically, I won't jump around too much, just to try to preserve as much health as possible to keep me as healthy as long as possible. Just because the more health I have, the more damage they need to kill me with. Simple as that. The only other times I'll lose sticky jump, you'll be in an Uber, you're flashed, you're not gonna take any damage from doing that. But if they're pushing with an Uber and you're like in a bad spot, but you can still pretty much leave with a jump, you can always do that. It's pretty safe, and you shouldn't be eating too much as long as you're healthy enough. But that's kind of how I play demo. I don't jump too much unless I absolutely need to get height or something. I think what else I have covered. I have a Habib video up on the side of my screen just to go over stuff. Yeah, as I said before, communicating damage is also very important, especially with your pipes and everything. If you're pressuring, pressure is when you're pressuring for a sack. Your soldiers want to go sack onto their medic. It's an even situation. Say you're pushing into second. You want and it's an even Uber, so both medics have Uber. You want your soldiers to go in for a sack. So you can typically pressure and try to get a little bit of damage, or try to spot information for them. Say, medics on the stairs, you can call that medics on platform, medics on stairs, medics by points. That way your soldier has a little information. If they're playing from Al-Qaeda or playing right here, they can easily get in and know where they're sending it. But another important part of pressuring is trying to get a bit more chip damage. Having a sticky charged up is always good, because you can try to get a little bit more damage on the medic. That way your soldiers' bombs will be a little bit more impactful. But you also make sure you don't want to overcommit too. As soon as your soldier dies, or if you're not sending a double bomb in, you should be backing out entirely. If you're double bombing, you can stay in a little bit longer, but just be prepared to leave. If your soldier dies, just get out as fast as you can, because they're going to be sending their counter sack, so you can trap it off the choke. This is like the one time I like to put traps out in the open, just because it'll deny soldiers from walking up or ramp sliding off too easily. But as soon as that pressure fails, you need to be getting out, you need to be trapping off things so they can't come into you easily. So you want to be denying as much space from them as possible. Best way to destroy sentries. Typically, a sticky and a pipe should be enough damage to do it. If not, you can always chuck a few stickies. Sticky spamming is not the best idea, though, on sentries. Because sentry can always try to hit it around, or a pyro can try to air blast it. I try to typically stack, like, 2 stickies on it, typically. Then I'll detonate it, or 2 to 3 stickies, and detonate it at the same time before I, start single deading constantly like that. I'll leave them there and just let the engineer either take a bunch of damage from standing trying to repair the gun. But you can use pipes too if you don't want to waste too many stickies. You really only need like 1 pipe and 1 sticky to destroy a sentry typically. And if not, your scout will probably get a little bit of chip damage on it. Your soldiers will help focus fire it too, so you don't need to invest all too much. When do you charge stickies and when do you reload? Charging stickies is always never not a good idea, or it's always a good idea to charge stickies. They're always going to go a lot much farther, it's easier to create pressure. The only time you really don't need to charge them is if they're really close and near your face, because, obviously. But even still, charging it will always get faster on the ground, because the fire speed. Reloading is typically done in situations where you're not doing anything. I know ammo management is a very key part of Demoman. Typically, if it's a rotation like this, I'll typically start reloading once I pass this blue crate, because I don't have sightlines on anybody. I can't see anything, so I'll quickly, chuck some stickies, and I'll reload around here before I peek this corner, and then start charging about here, and then start repressuring. But ammo management is very crucial. Just always making sure you have ammo loaded, both your pipe bombs and your stickies, is very important. And also keeping track of that too. You don't need to keep track of it too much. Just make sure that if you're not doing anything, you have everything reloaded. And if nothing's reloaded, then you're not in a good position to fight. That's also enemies using Quickie Bomb Launcher. Quickie Bomb Launcher, you're screwed, pretty much. In a Demoman 1v1, quickies will pretty much always prevail over you and everything. Yeah, wait for them to run out of stickies. That's good. They do only have 4, but in a situation like that, they can easily 1v1 you a lot more. And they can also destroy your traps. You're kind of just hoping for your team to capitalize on it, but they're already sacrificing a lot more just by running quickies, because they lose a lot of area space and pressure by having less damage with them. You can always out-heal quickies. Just if they're spamming quickies at you, you can out-heal it. Your medic can out-heal it. You don't need to worry too much. I was back on ammo management. Yeah, making sure you always have ammo loaded is always good. And calling if you don't have ammo loaded, especially for Uber exchanges too, is also very important. I've told my medic many times that, I don't have any ammo loaded, don't use on me. Or I'm not ready for an Uber because I need to reload everything. Or I'm just calling also when I'm reloading too. Like if I'm pressuring second or pressuring to go in, I'll say I'm still reloading from mid-fight or something. Before I go in. Just make sure your team's aware that you have no ammo or anything. I don't think what else. Best distance to play with your medic. I could say playing with your medic's alright. It depends where you are. Again, if you're attacking, say you're attacking second, your medic can be chilling behind rock, and you can pretty much just be here trying to peek for pressure. You don't really need to play too aggressive or too far away from your medic. You're still the part of the combo. You want to be close into it. That way, if they start engaging at all, or just denying them space is good. If your medic has to back up, if they're bombing, that's fine. You can just play here and still deny any space you can possibly. But if you're defending, again, your medic will be... Again, if you're defending second, your medic will typically be on the platform here or on point, so you're playing about right here-ish. Not on the grass. Grass is a death zone. Being on low ground as a Demoman is always a death trap. But you don't need to be playing extremely far from the medic. You can call that, hey, I'm going to go set up traps real quick and just, go walk out a little bit, and then get ready to back up as soon as you have it placed. Besides that, you're still playing moderately close to your medic, because if it's an even situation, the medic's just trying to use to save you. Or he's trying to keep you alive and try to keep your scout alive to keep the point alive. If they're using into you, they're already at a huge disadvantage, because they lose out on a little bit of Uber, and yours will always be better, as long as your players live. That's why it's important to kind of stay out of the Uber if you're not part of the combo. Or even as Demoman, if it's an exchange, try to stay out of the Uber a little bit. That way your medic flashes your players less and you have more Uber. I'll try to just kite it a little bit, but sometimes, you're gonna get caught and your medic has to flash you, and that's fine. It's always just making sure you're setting up for the post-fight. Laying some stickies down so they can't retreat, or trapping them out of choke or something. That way they can't fall back if they want to try to leave out of the Uber. I'm gonna load up Bagel real quick, because it is Bagel week, and I do kind of want to go over some key stuff about that. I will say another thing is learning trap spots. There are plenty of trap spots on every map that you'll find. A lot of times it takes a lot of exploration to find, or looking up some guys. A lot of the times YouTube videos won't cover trap spots like that. But it's always just go explore the map, look what props you can hide stuff in, trap common doorways and everything. Again, trap like the main doorway, like any choke or anything called main is typically a good idea to trap. But besides that, look for weird geometry. There's sometimes some geometry that'll hide traps. There's a few on Gully Wash. There's some on Metal that can be a really good spot. Process has a few of them. Bagel doesn't really have a lot of good trap spots. There's a lot of interesting ones that people won't check, but you always want to try to surprise the enemy with your traps. And then, as soon as you kill them with the trap spot, they're going to know about it for their next life, so it's not going to always keep working, unless it's a really common spot for a good defensive position, like the 2-wall 1 second, or the shutter doors. Those are always... People will always assume those are trapped, typically. But for Bagel, the main thing I have is for playing points. A lot is the carpeting thing. You're going to be carpeting stickies a lot and doing as much damage as possible. But if you're playing Bagel, you're playing the mid-fight, you're playing still around here, you're occasionally peeking, and make sure you call that you are peeking whatever side of point you are so your team knows that you're here. But as soon as you start getting low health, you want to back up and let your P-Scout take some space while you get healed up. You also don't want to leave too far from the point, but again, having carpeting stickies over the point is really useful, especially because that'll deny them space. All the stickies here, they cannot walk in this area anymore, because they'll just eat a bunch of damage and die for that. But also for Koth is, denying space and denying them from point. Bagel's a really fast point. It's pretty fast to cap, so a lot of teams will try to edge point. It's try to go back and forth with cap really quickly. Easy way to do that is just putting a sticky line here and just leaving that there. So their scouts have to shoot it, or their soldiers have to shoot it and knock them away. Which again, takes time, takes ammo, and then they have to reload off that. I'm gonna mention this here, but again, normally you have trap spots, say if you're doing a forward hold, around this corner, around this wall, or maybe on this box if you feel paranoid. But if you can get, aggressive, if you're still during a wipe, you can set up traps a little bit further in that they're not going to expect, because typically everyone expects you to have traps there. So you can catch them by surprise, and I've dropped a few medics doing that. But otherwise, again, knowing when to play and when to leave is always very crucial. If you start getting a lot of pressure and you call help, everyone on your team should rotate over. The whole combo's coming through. It is always safer to back up. You don't need to hold all your space as much as possible, especially if it's just by yourself on a forward hold. You can easily back up and take space. Or back up and just keep and still take space with your stickies. You're denying them from walking at you, but just placing some stickies down on the floor. But otherwise, again, playing your life is very important to Demo. Kind of running out of things to talk about. Strengths and weaknesses of running quickies on Bagel. Don't run quickies on Bagel. That is, like, the worst option you have. You can snipe people, sure, but, like, you lose out on the carpeting value and lose out on, like, better forward, stronger forward holds. You're just really hindering yourself more by running quickies. But, like, you lose out on, like, a lot of trap spots, because now your stickies are going to actually deter people. For quickies, you can just walk through that. You're medicing out heal a quickie bomb launcher. So if you're just peppering them with quickies, it's not going to do anything when they're just carpeting stuff. You can prioritize single deading if you're, like, focusing on one target a lot some of the times. If it's a scout, you can always carpet it a little bit. It's kind of just, if a sticky is not going to kill them, or, like, not in any range, like, you miss them completely, a scout jukes you, you can just leave it there, and then shoot another sticky, and if it happens to catch him or he goes back into that, congrats, you get a little bit more extra damage. Carpeting's typically done for just either trapping up an area really quickly, or even trying to waterfall it, which is when you charge the sticky up in the air a little bit, and then shoot another one on the ground so they land kind of at the same time. And that way you get a lot of damage with that. With single deading, you really only need to prioritize. You know, if you're doing an Uber push, you're trying to push into them and they're trying to leave, you can spam stickies as fast as possible. You don't need to leave a few there, because they can still get out in that time that it takes to arm the stickies. If you're not at, like, the proper range, or they have the medics beaming a scout, they can get out. But again, if you're fighting somebody, if your sticky misses them completely, it's not going to do anything if you blow it up. You can just leave it there and shoot another sticky and keep fighting. You don't need to keep doing that. If you shoot one, you hit your sticky's about to hit them again for a good bit of 40 to 50 damage. You can dead that, and that other sticky might catch somebody or might catch a player trying to come help them. It's always an option. But it depends on the situation again. If you're pushing, let's say back on process, you know, you're pushing last, it's better to, like, leave carpets on the point sometimes. But it's also better to focus fire down a heavy and everything with stickies, just get as much damage as possible. DT's about to give some wisdom. Oh, that is good, yeah. So for process or snake water and the scuff and sunshine technically, if it's a last hold and your team is disad, your main goal is to trap the point off with stickies. You don't really need to focus on any doors. Just get as many stickies on that point as possible. That way you deny them from just coming in and try to get a little bit of cap time. If it's closer to evens, you don't need to put stickies on point really. You can try to focus on holding doorways and everything, try to make their sacks a lot harder to get in. But typically, again, on a process, I'll be in heaven, trying to trap. I'll be sitting in, like, the right heaven or left heaven, where my medic and my pocket scout, and I'll just trap off point. And if they start pushing in, they have to focus on clearing those stickies off the point. And that takes time. Now, again, a rocket can sometimes knock them all the way, but a scout would have to shoot it a little bit, or they can't pressure point, which buys your team a little bit more time, because they're not getting good cap time, and it's going to slow them down a little bit. Yeah, disad down players, expecting an exchange, or people rushing the point, that's when you trap point. Especially if you're also planning to leave the point, too. If you're planning to push in a second, you know, like, you got, like, 4 picks, maybe. Someone's always trying to hide. Typically, you leave a player for that. But you can always leave, like, 4 traps, maybe 5 traps on the point before you push out. And, if you see that both players in front of you, trying to leave to mid, then you can detonate it and tell your player to move up. You know, unless they are crazy or try to go for a back cap with a scout or a spy, you really don't. As long as you see the enemy team, you don't need to leave stickies. Like, if they get a wipe, you don't need to leave stickies, you just walk up. If you know, like, a medic's alive, they're probably not going to touch the point, they're probably going to try to leave. So you don't need to trap the point. But if it's like a soldier or a scout alive, it's probably better to trap the point before you leave, just to have that extra insurance. That's more prominent in, like, maps like Gully Wash, where the last point caps really fast. You'd want to trap the point off just so they can't try to sneak a back cap on you, especially when pushing second. If you try to push out with second with, like, Ubers, a lot of times people will send somebody back, which, it's important to clear every doorway, but still, after you clear every doorway, there's still going to be, like, a scout or a soldier looking to get in behind you and back cap. So leaving some stickies there can help, It just is also making sure you don't det earlier with like a single det on, try to get some damage. That way your trap on last gets ruined. Oh, there's always people who look to try to backcap in no matter what situation. It's always a safe option to leave stickies on the last point if you're pushing out for like an exchange or something. We're not an exchange. You would never push out a last for an exchange, but like if it's your ad, pushing out it's always important to leave traps there and just stick to your pipe bombs. I know I didn't talk much about pipes, but pipes are, again, your strong tool. It's 100 damage across map. It's really good. Really strong. You should not be really focusing on airshotting a lot of the times. I see some Demoman try to just turn around, try to get a soldier bomb and medic. Again, you don't want to do that. You don't want to give up any space. You kind of want to trust your scouts to deal with the issue. And if you really don't trust your scouts, then you can turn around. But it's not the best idea. You're giving up so much space by turning around. You know, not watching the point. They can come up behind you and just murder you. So typically it's advised doing that. If you are going to try to airshot somebody, there are ways to practice that. TR demo aim is a good one I use a lot of times just to warm up. But if you're doing that, stickies are a lot safer because you can chuck them in the air and dead them. And again, charging them is also very good because you can try to... Charging is a little bit riskier because they're going to go shoot up a lot higher. But stickies are a good way of just denying a little airspace. Especially if you're expecting a bomb. Say you're playing second, you're leaving, you're expecting a bomb. I'll chuck some traps above point instead of like in front of it, just to deny a bomb that might be coming in. I think I do that a bit. And who knows, it might deter them, it might not, but it could mess up their jump. They could take extra damage, take a bunch of knockback, and put in a different direction than they already are. So I always do that. Alright, I'm pretty much sure. I think I've mentioned everything. I've probably forgotten something along the lines. But if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them. Alright, well, I guess that's it. If no one has any more questions, then everyone should be free. I think that's everything. I guess unless I forgot something, someone can remind me. AT, you're Egan. Or if anyone else has questions, I'll stick around for a bit. Sticky spots on Bagel. Bagel, I don't really have a lot of good trap spots, especially in the newer version, RC10. There used to be a good one in the lobby, but it's gone. This little object here sometimes is pretty good. You won't see it a lot of times, so you'll walk across point and die to it if you're in that range. You can try trapping this little side thing too. Again, same situation as that, except they're coming from this right side, so they're not going to see it as soon as they touch point. They can die. Otherwise, you know, you have the same forward hold spots. You put either stickies on that wall. Typically, you can also put something on this wall. Sometimes you can put it above too, in case soldiers try to jump out. You can catch them with that. If you feel like someone's going to run at you, you can always hide stickies here, and you know, still have your stickies on that door right there. If they run at you, they'll take damage from that. If you're really aggressive, you can have time to set up traps on this wall right here, which will pretty much kill them as soon as they walk through that. Otherwise, this spot on this wall is pretty good. Same thing on the other side. If you can set those up. I'll do 4 on each wall typically, and then back up a lot. But make sure you always let your flank scout, who's going to be with you on the forward hold, know that you're going up for aggressive traps so he can try to bail you out if something goes wrong and if they're really fast on you. Otherwise, nobody ever checks those corners. It's sometimes really good to drop people. If you need to leave through house, you can always trap this little wall right here. Again, nobody's going to notice it until they rush in and try to kill you. I've seen traps on this little rock right here. A lot of times medic players and scouts will come play around here. They'll try to jump off here, and you can try to kill them with these traps right here. Again, you really have no reason to be over here besides for like an Uber exchange. But again, you can always trap the side of the wall here. It's not a lot of good props to hide things in on this map. I don't know good bagel trap spots, unfortunately. You can always put traps here. I'll try to put traps on this little lip right here. I never catch anybody with these. I don't know how useful that is. This little corner here can sometimes catch people, but again, it's really a specific angle. I can show y'all snake water trap. I know snake water traps because AT told me all of them. And I know a few in process that I've learned just from dying to them. That's a good way to put it. You learn trap spots by dying to traps. That's like the easiest way you'll ever learn traps. Just, you die to them. What are you supposed to build on medic when your scouts You can build. This is why I always run half Latuichi. Typically, if both your scouts are off-classing, you can always build with your medic. It depends on the situation, too. Like, if they're really close to coming to you on last, it's probably better to have the crit heals and be at full health than them using into you and you're already taking 50 damage every time you pull out your half Zatoichi. But my scouts used to off-class a lot. If your scouts are, like, off-classing a lot, then you can run half Zatoichi and just build if they're not alive. Plus, it's still just a better option. If you're put in a melee situation, you can easily win and get an extra health boost off that. Otherwise, again, both scouts are dead. You can easily... You're an option to build now, because now your soldiers don't have to blast jump to take damage and everything. During stalemates, during stalemates, it's just, you're not really doing much. If you're the defending team, I'll go to Snakewater, just to... Because you asked about traps on Snakewater. Nope, I can't type at all. If you're defending, again, you're pretty much holding the main doorway or being ready to rotate over to the doorway wherever they're pushing. You're holding second, essentially. I typically like to watch lower. I'll put a few traps up, maybe... I don't think I need to really single that a lot on Snakewater second, because if I open it is, and a lot of soldiers try to get in through her jumps. But... You just need to be rotating to where their combo's facing and putting as much damage pressure as possible to scare them out and just buy yourself more time for your medic to build. If it's like a disad situation, maybe. Disad you should probably playing to leave anyway, but if it's like an even situation, you want to prevent them from getting any pressure at all and just denying as much space as possible. Snakewater traps. I know I went over this. I don't think I went over any trap spots when I did the Snakewater review. If you're holding right side on last, typically you can put traps there. If not, you have bucket right here, which is the ideal traps location. I learned of this one, you can hide traps in these barrels here. And that'll catch anybody coming on these stairs. It'll actually damage them. I'm gonna do a hurt me real quick, just so I have health, so I can showcase that. Like, it'll catch anybody coming up there. On last, there are... You can always hide traps above point. I think that's pretty good of a spot. Because if the soldier does knock it, it doesn't really do anything, because it's going to either go onto point, or it's just going to roll a little bit off the point and hold it. But again, you can always just put traps on point if you're short on time, and just chuck it there. Alright, so again, even stalemate, you really don't have a lot of... You have a few options. You can always, again, I'll typically hold lower, set up a few traps. This little lip is sometimes I'll use. There's this lip right here as well, this roof. Sometimes you can get away with putting traps on this train right here. These rocks can also hide stickies pretty well. I'll sometimes use these traps, and a lot of times people won't realize that, because if they're walking in, they're not going to see that at all. And then they'll just immediately die as soon as they touch them. Like, it's just good. Again, there's always this, simple traps around doorways just to deny them from peeking at all and taking space. This unfortunately doesn't hide traps, unlike Gully Wash. You can always hide a trap above here in case to try to bomb out or try to peek a little too aggressive. And then I'm going to do that other part of the question. If you're trying to push in on a stalemate, again, your job is to help you creating pressure, waiting for your soldiers to call, like, a time. Either the soldiers will call for a time, or you can say, okay, we're pressuring now for you, get ready to sack, or get ready to sack in a few seconds. And then you call that you're pressuring, you're trying to get them to look at you, create as much space a bit. You're trying to create a little space. Just get everyone to have eyes on you, so that when your soldier goes in, nobody's looking at the soldier, and they can try to get a lot of damage on the medic. And again, if you're pressuring, try to get a bit of damage on the medic too, or maybe some more important classes, especially on Snake. If you're pressuring through Saw, there's going to be a soldier on this pipe. You can try to pressure him off. And the medic will probably be back over there on point. You can try to chuck a sticky there, get a bit of damage, help your soldier out a little bit. That's always important. And then more traps. This Saw can hide stickies. It's weird. You will not see this a lot of times. I mean, you can see if you're pushing like that, but you're not going to notice that. And then you'll just die to it if you walk by it. A lot of times you'll see traps on this little pillar here. Again, you won't notice it as soon as you walk by. There is this little lip right here. This from this wall. You can hide traps right here. A lot of times people will see that if their Demoman peeks out, pressure Saw, you can just step behind them. I've died to that plenty of times before I learned that. There's always traps, really aggressive traps here on this wall. If they're trying to push really fast, they can just get deleted from that. Otherwise, again, the traps on the side of the doorway. Mid, there's these traps on the side of the wall, and then there's also, you can hide traps around here too, and that'll catch anybody trying to go to catwalks. Otherwise, this box is sometimes a very useful spot too. A lot of times people won't see this trap, or won't notice the box at all, and they'll just walk past it and they'll eat a bunch of damage from spam. Again, there's traps on walls. Just be a little creative with it. I'd say you can always put it on like huts or something, or little corners. Typically areas they don't expect to trap. That's normally what I'd say is probably the best trap spot you can possibly find. It's just areas they don't expect it to die from. Or like just anywhere that'll deny a lot of space. If they walk in, they'll take a bunch of damage from stickies. Or anything. Another important thing I want to say on Snakewater Mid is, again, you're pretty much not caring about what the soldiers do. It's a double bomb map. It's a lot more confrontational. You don't care about any of the soldiers. You want to just make sure they can't walk if they double bomb. Or if you're double bombing, you want to make sure you can walk and try to follow up with your soldiers. If you are playing a little bit more passive, chucking 2 stickies on height is normally, again, a pretty good idea. If anyone's playing up there, your scouts or your soldiers can spot it. They can tell you to detonate it. Just make sure you call that you're chucking traps up there so they can look for it, or ask for someone to call it. Think that's pretty much it. Again, just watch space and make sure they can't get in for free pressure or creating space as much as possible for stalemates. If anyone's got any more questions? Again, you can always ask your coaches for more questions or anything if you have anything. And always feel free, you can always shoot me up, or AT, I guess, I don't know if you want to be mentioned in this. AT has taught me a lot of demo stuff for this season, so I want to give him a big thanks. But again, always ask your coaches. You can always shoot a question, and this server is normally really friendly and giving advice and everything, and you'll always learn stuff. Besides that, I'll stick around for a bit longer if anyone has any more questions or anyone wants to stay around, but you're free to go, I think, now.